Hello, everyone, and welcome to Being Naked. My name is Venus Castleberg, your host. And I do have a very special guest that it will be joining me, but I thought I would come on here for those of you who've been anxiously waiting for me to say hello. We're going to be talking about whether entities are good or bad. So stay tuned for our very special guest. And I thought it was a good time for me to get on here and I really, really, truly wanted to thank you so much for being one of my listeners, somebody who listens or watches the broadcast, and I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you. This journey to vulnerability has been absolute magic for me, and I'd love for us to even start today by taking our deepest barriers down, even the ones we don't know about. Push them down, pull them down, destroy and uncreate them. Awesome. And I have a very exciting announcement to make, and you're the first to know. um, I am actually going to not be doing the Being Naked broadcast anymore. I'm going to be starting the Wonderland of Possibilities, and I'm really excited to start sharing that with you. I will give you more information very soon. And without further ado, I have our very special guest, Anthony Mattis. Welcome, Dr. Anthony Mattis.
Hi, Venus. How are you? Sorry, I am late.
That's okay. We're live, so you're all good.
Yes. Are we naked?
We are naked. We're
Yeah.
getting naked. Let's just get naked.
There you go. Nice.
Awesome. So I was just one of the ways I like to start this broadcast is just by lowering our deepest barriers. And it's so much easier to receive information, awareness, um, everything really with our deepest barriers down. So that was just what I was letting them know, and then also that I'm starting a new project. So
Awesome.
stay tuned.
Fun.
So and Anthony, Dr. Anthony Mattis, I've actually known since for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, I think I even hosted you for one of your earlier Talk to the Entities classes in Telluride, Colorado.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it seems like a lifetime ago. Definitely was.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about Anthony is that he's somebody who truly empowers you to know what you know instead of telling you a lot, giving you a lot of answers. He's really great at asking questions and encouraging you to reach for what it is that you know. So I'm really honored to have you on as a guest today. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Anthony.
Pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. So I titled this "Are Entities Good or Bad?" Because
Haha.
I was like, let's go to the basics. Why don't you share a little bit though about your journey in becoming a Talk to the Entities facilitator? Like, how did that happen?
Well, it's a specialty class of access consciousness. And so this January, it'll be 11 years since I started studying the tools, of access consciousness. And there's so many different, I don't know, divisions, if that, for a lack of a better word,
Mhm.
they have tools to help people get beyond abuse. They have tools for helping people with body stuff. They have tools for money. They have tools for, I don't know, relationships and health issues and so on and so forth. And then I saw this other little specialty category about entities, and I'm like, okay, that's different. It wasn't that I was not open-minded to it, but it was more like I'm open-minded to it for other people. That's not going to be something that because I don't really and it was more from the point of view of like I don't really have a capacity in this area. I don't see the point. And how do I know that most of this stuff's not just made up like it is in a lot of other different, let's just say, I don't know, religions and spiritual practices and modalities and blah blah blah. So, but anyway, so decided. So as I'm going through my access consciousness journey as a facilitator, I got to a point where I was like, I felt like my energetic sessions with people and the way I was able to facilitate with people was coming up against like a wall. I felt like there was so much more beyond what I was doing and where I was able to get to with people. And I'm like, there's got to be something else. And then for the third time, I came across the Talk to the Entities, like it was like a taster class or an intro class that Shannon O'Hara, the creator of Talk to the Entities, was doing. And I'm like, I've already had two, beginning classes. I didn't really get a lot out of it. I don't know. And then I ended up having a conversation with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. And he's like, everybody has the ability to perceive, know, be, and receive. He's like, when did you cut off your awareness with this? So, make a really long story short, I got over my point of view and then I got over my point of view. I took the class for the third time. And for whatever reason, this time I was able to hear it differently. But it wasn't until I became a facilitator of Talk to the Entities, about 6 months in, um, I started having this intense, I wouldn't say depression, but it was more like a melancholic state. It was sort of like, when you feel that like sort of heavy gray cloud that's like consuming you, and you're like, why am I feeling this depressive and nothing in my life? There was no reason on the outside for me to be feeling sad.
Mm.
Right? But it's very easy in this reality to be like, well, there's a chemical imbalance, or, this is something that you've always had your whole life. But this time I was like, something's off because I have no logical reason to be sad. And my point of view about chemical imbalances are your chemicals react to the world around you. So
Mm.
why are your chemicals out of balance? Nobody ever asked that question. It's like in this world, it's like, here, take this drug to balance your chemicals. And it's
Right.
like playing Russian roulette from my point of view. So it's like, okay, what's causing my chemicals to be out of balance at this particular time? And so I decided, and this is funny because I was already a facilitator, that I needed to explore one of the very first things we learn in Access Consciousness, which is asking, who does this belong to, for every thought, feeling, and emotion that you have. And one of the ideas or the concepts is that 99% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions aren't even yours. And that was a very difficult concept for me to wrap my head around, but it really wasn't until, it's easy to defer maybe your thoughts, feelings, and emotions to the way you were raised, or taking after your mom or your dad or your grandparents. But after I was using the tools with regards to that scenario, nothing was working. It wasn't changing it. And then I was like, maybe I need to explore this a little bit further. So in that particular instance, three people who had committed suicide were sort of like in my awareness. So I decided to actually have a conversation with them, just like we're
Mm.
taught in Talk to the Entities. And at that time, my daughter was learning about the Aboriginals that lived in this particular area in South Carolina. So then I started having a conversation with them using the tools of Talk to the Entities. So as I'm doing this, I actually fell asleep. And during the night, I can literally feel, it was almost like the pathways in my brain were forming. I could perceive all this activity going like, "Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo." And I woke up and I felt like I had a brand new brain. I was
Wow.
happy. That melancholic feeling was gone. And then that's when it went boom. Whoa. I can really see the value in learning these tools. It just sunk into every single cell in my body, and it created
Mm.
this knowing. And I'm like, could it be possible that all those years that I was melancholic had to do with more of me being aware of different energies that were around me that I wasn't
Mm.
acknowledging? And that was the way my body was trying to give me information as to what's going on in other people's worlds. And
Right.
so that's what I love about this. So that's sort of like well, I tried to make it as short as possible, but I actually had to go through it. I had to go through it because returning it to sender with consciousness attached to like the people that you've inherited your DNA from, or your upbringing, the nature versus nurture, none of that was working. It wasn't changing
Mm.
it. So I
Mm.
actually had to get really present and be like, okay, well, what is it that I'm really aware of? And so I'm glad I went through that experience because it created this level of knowing, and there's just been no turning back ever since then. And I went from not believing that I had any capacity in this area to being like, whoa, I have a really huge capacity in this area. I may not be able to see them, I may not be able to hear them, but we all have the ability to perceive their presence and perceive all
Mhm.
kinds of energies, and so it's just yeah, it's been a true gift. And that's sort of like one of my indicators or my signs. It's like if I'm feeling sort of sad and blue, who does it belong to? Now, I don't automatically conclude that it's entities. It could be people with bodies that I don't even know. It's like, because our
Right.
brains tune into, or our awareness is tuned into, just like the radio, right, receives the satellite waves from outer space that brings in the talk radio in your car or the music in your car. It's the same thing with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And so, yeah, so that's sort of how my journey with talk to the entities has been. And no,
That's
you asked the question, are they bad? Are they good? They're just like people. Are all people good? No. Are all people
no.
bad? No, they're just like people like you and me without bodies. And you have some evil ones too, but we have the tools to deal with all that.
That's awesome. So that leads into my next question. I was curious because I know some people out there like we're taught through religion and stuff like that that entities are bad or evil or somehow if you're aware of them you're evil or you're a witch or so how did you always believe that entities were okay or did you have your own points of view about them and beforehand?
Well, you know, I went through so many different phases in my life, in my journey. Um, Gosh, good lord, that's a whole nother topic for I could do a whole 1 day class just on my journey. And I mean, you have what you were born into, right? So if your family
Mm,
happens to be religious, or my family wasn't very religious, they weren't like spiritual seekers or anything like that, but I was born into like a Catholic family, right? So they made me do the different stages of Catholicism because that's what being a good parent to them was. But they never went to church, they never made me go to church or anything. But I actually had a lot of questions. I was actually a seeker. I came in seeking and wanting to know the things that were beyond what we're presented with here, right? But I could
mhm,
never really get any information from my parents because it wasn't something they were ever interested in. So I went through a lot of different phases. I even went through a phase of like, I don't know, maybe when it's all said and done, the lights are out. So I was kind of like an atheist for a little while. And then it wasn't until I went to chiropractic school where we talk about the power that makes the body heals the body. We talk about
mm,
the innate intelligence within your body. Like right now, I just ate some breakfast, right? And my body's on automatic pilot digesting my food, right? That's all happening on automatic pilot. There's a consciousness in that process. And so then I started being like, okay, there's just more than just to the physical thing. So I went through so many different journeys. I've had a guru from India, and I did his practices. I did metaphysical stuff, and then I was a non-denominational Christian, which to me was way more fun than being Catholic. uh, but that was like kind of out of the box for that sort of thing. And so I went through a lot of different phases. And so with, I could speak on the Christianity side of things, it's like anything outside of like the Holy Spirit, anything outside of God, if it's not funneled through that particular paradigm, then it's automatically like of the devil, right?
mhm,
But when they would see that, I was like, is it really that black and white? And so I'm like, I don't know. And then there was different modalities that talked about past lives and all that stuff. So for me, it was more like, I don't know. And I had a lot of different through those different journeys, I had a lot of supernatural experiences. Like people die and they come back, but they shouldn't have come
mm.
back healthy because they were like dead for a while, but they come back, they're like, oh, I went to heaven, or they had all these different experiences. Well, I didn't die, but I had a lot of these experiences in each of those different respective things I was deeply entrenched with, right?
Mm.
And so I was like, whoa, okay. And then when I started doing access, I had even more. So I learned that whenever you make something absolute, you're really limiting what you could actually truly be aware of. And to
Mm,
me, I think it's a level of naivety that we as human beings on planet Earth function from when you think like your particular way is the right and only way. Uh,
mm.
I think it's ridiculous. So that's my interesting point of view. But the good news is, if you happen to be religious, whatever it is, you don't have to give up your religion. These are just tools, right? They're simply just they're tools. They don't tell you what to believe. It's not about believing
Mhm,
in anything. They're tools so you could simply have more ease in your life. Now, I've watched
mhm,
people suffer, die, go insane because they couldn't get the help that they needed through medicine. They couldn't get their help that they needed through their religion. Okay. And a lot of these people committed suicide because they were in this space of hopelessness.
mm,
And that's the part that gets me. It's like, what if there are things that are available for you that are beyond what you've learned through your particular religion, no matter what it is? And it may not fit the paradigm. And you may have people having the point of view that, oh, if you do let that stuff into your world, you're going to open yourself up to the devil or something bad. And those are all lies,
right.
because these tools are designed so that you're not at the effect of all those bad energies. You know
Mm,
what I mean? And so to me, these tools can save people's lives without a doubt. Ultimately, the individual has to choose it, um, and use the tools. And like I said, you don't have to give up your religion. You don't have to give up your marriage or have to give up eating for 3 months and whatever else. You know what I mean? It's just tools. They're tools to help you know what you know and to have ease with regards to the world around you, both the physical and non-physical world. So,
Mm. Well, I love that too because it really is like you saying, okay, it's not even before access, you were questioning, is it really that black and white? Like, is it really so is there such a hard line? And I think the willingness to just be curious, to have that wonderment and just be like, what is true?
yeah,
For me even. And what's true for you might even be different for somebody else. So,
right.
but the willingness to explore that. It's
There's a
awesome.
level of laziness in our world. There's a
Mhm,
level. This is what I've observed. There's a level of laziness. Okay, it's much easier to be like, you know what? I'm going to follow this way, and I'm going to stay within that box because it's just easier. And anything outside of that box,
mhm,
because now you got to look at everything you've been choosing, and people don't want to like because what people then go do, like, what if I've been doing it wrong all this time,
mhm,
right? People don't want to look at it. People literally don't want to hear it
mhm.
because it's harder from their
Right.
point of view, right? It's
Yeah.
harder. It's more difficult. It's difficult to look at the things that are not working in your life, right? And it's
Mm,
like people say they
mm,
want to change and make their life better, but not really. Because sometimes, in order to
mm,
change that thing that's not working, you may have to go outside that box. You may have to go beyond that automatic pilot that you've been functioning from. And it does take a little bit of work. It does take a huge level of, like you said in the very beginning of the call, of vulnerability and being willing to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it without having a point of view. And that goes
mm.
for like your relationships with
Right.
your significant other, your relationships with your children, your relationships at work, and you name it. And so there, yeah, there's a level of laziness in this world. People don't want to look at it. They just want to go on automatic pilot and not have to look at anything. And yeah, and that never worked for me.
Mm. Me neither.
And
I'm like,
at the
yeah,
same
just
time, I can't make those people wrong either, because
right. Yeah.
it's like I've also observed, if you and I've been a bad naughty boy from time to time, where it's like I'll give people information and not ready to receive, and that wasn't
Mhm,
a kindness on my part.
mhm,
Um, and I did it from a so-called place of caring because I love them and they're so near and dear. And if they could just only see this thing that's destroying their life or destroying their marriage, things would get better. But I
mm,
realized, I'm like, you know what? Them actually looking at it could actually it wouldn't destroy them, but their point of view is that it would destroy them. So that's why they don't want to look at it. So I just realized
Mm,
that I have to really, really discipline myself to let people come to me and ask me a question, and always being the question about what they're able and willing to receive.
mm. Beautiful. You do it brilliantly. So
Not
that's just
always.
my interesting point of view.
Not always. Thank you.
I know. Yes,
I
I
tend to
know.
drop
Well,
the ball
I
with a
mean,
few
none of us
people.
are perfect, right?
Yeah. With family and dear friends, I tend to drop the ball a little bit more often. It's easier when I'm facilitating for some reason. I don't know why.
Right. No. Yeah, I've just learned to shut up. Like, okay, better to not say anything here at all.
Yep.
um, Cool. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I love that invitation to going, okay, well, you're fine. If you want to choose whatever you're choosing isn't wrong. That's first and foremost. But if you do want to look at something past what's black and white or past the box that you put yourself in, what else would be possible? Um, I love that we're actually having you in Utah or possibly online, but we're hosting you in Utah
Okay.
for a Talk to the Entities class. We're going to do an intro, a beginning, and an intermediate. And I actually had a question about what have you seen as the difference between an intro, beginning, and intermediate?
Well, I mean, the intro is just like, hey, this is not as scary as you think that it is, and you're not going to go to hell if you choose to learn about the different tools that are available. So it's just sort of like, it's almost like busting the myths a lot. And
Mm,
every intro is different depending on the people that are in the class. And we'll walk away with some of the, some basic tools and stuff like that. The intro is great. The whole like first day of the intro is really like just breaking down the fear behind it all. And what's great about the intro is you start to learn the different components that you'll use when you're dealing with the spirit world. And
mm,
it's just awesome. It's just designed to help you to expand your awareness more. And for those people who know that they have an awareness in this area, it's just there, it's designed to help you to have way more ease with it. And then
mhm,
the intermediate touches on some really interesting topics that again just sort of expands your sort of sphere of awareness even further. It's just a 1 day class, and it just kind of takes things to a whole nother level. And it also invites, it's one sort of like adorable thing that I've noticed. It's like when people talk about the spirit world, it's always about the dark shit. Always. I'm like, well, like, has anybody realized that if there's the dark stuff, there's the light stuff too? But like in the intermediate stuff, we do some really cool exercises to invite like the beings of light, to come play. And so it's so weird when everybody thinks about the spirit world. Why is it always like demonic?
right?
It's crazy. But I guess it's just like when you turn on the news, right? It's all the bad
Right.
shit. What sells?
Yeah.
So, like, hey guys, can we put our attention on like, the possibilities and this awesome stuff that can happen, and yeah, so it's just a way of inviting possibilities.
Mm. Awesome, I love that, and whatever you do, don't have any fun with it, right?
All right. Yeah, but it's like the whole thing is like a breaking down of all the lies and to empower you to know what you know and just be empowered, period.
Mm, I love that. Well, and I personally strategically really pulled for it being on Halloween weekend, so
Yeah,
that's me. I was like, "How much more fun can we have with entities on Halloween weekend?" So,
totally.
if you guys would like to join us, we'll drop the information in the chat. And thank you, Anthony, so much for this conversation and debunking the myths of entities being good or bad.
Right. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're awesome. Bye, everyone.